Hi, and welcome to Complete and Cast, the official podcast for Complete and Box video games. I'm your host, Spencer, and today, in episode 26, we're continuing the tradition of doing video game reviews, and we are once again joined by...
Parker!
Hey.
I am the official Parker. You've had some previous Parkers on, and I gotta say, unofficial Parker, not a good guy to have on. He's kind of a jerk, so... He's stolen my identity a number of times.
It was tough because I kept calling him Parker and he was like, "My name's Joe."
Yeah.
And I was like, "Come on, it's Parker." So anyway, episode 26. Today we are going to do a review of Doom 2016. It's 2017 now, but this game came out in 2016.
That is the way to refer to it because it is just the exact same name.
It is literally just called Doom. So this is the new version that came out.
Doom 4, unofficially.
Doom 4. A couple things to go over real quick. So in those reviews, we break it down into 6 different categories. You got story, gameplay, sound, and that sound includes voice acting, music, all that stuff. Graphics and atmosphere are in one category. You have fun factor, and then you have replayability. We both individually grade these on a scale from 0 to 10. I would give something a 0 if it was that bad. Mm-hmm. And one important thing to note is that we, unlike a lot of video game reviews you see where like an 8 will be like, oh, it's kind of whatever. If a game got something like an 8, it would be considered pretty gosh darn good by us.
Right.
We've done
5 is like...
5 is average. 5 is like, I forgot about it already kind of thing. So, and, if we give something a 7.5 or 7.75 overall, it's a pretty good thing. So...
Yeah, like a 5 is a game that I would play... I would finish.
Right.
Like, if I started playing it and it's a 5, I would finish it. Like, I wouldn't necessarily finish, like, a 2. I would probably stop. Unless I was making fun of it with somebody.
But a 5 would be like, I finished it, and then 6 months later I ask you, how was blah? And you go, I kind of remember. Right. And, like, I'll be like, oh, I played blah, and I remember this part. And you'd be like, yeah.
Yeah.
So,
yeah,
all right.
Exactly.
So today we're talking some Doom action in our LP group, Let's Play group, that is also available on this channel, and you should watch. We like Doom.
What was that hesitation?
Ben, yeah, because I think you should like really take it in.
Watch.
You should take it in. And cousin Ben Brosman plays Doom a lot, and he likes Doom. So we've seen a lot of Doom. We've seen a lot of different wads of Doom. Now this is the old school stuff, but we're very Doomified.
Oh yeah.
Now, Doom 2016. Before we go even into the greater categories and everything, I want to say before we even start doing that it is a great return to form.
Yes.
I mean, it feels, despite being on a newer console, feels like Doom.
Yep, absolutely.
It just, I don't know, it feels like a newer version of Doom. So,
absolutely. Let's
start with the story. Now.
I mean, saying that is because if you didn't play it, Doom 3 was a departure.
Doom 3 was a departure.
Like, it was like, more like ambient, like, I don't know, survival horror. It wasn't survival, but like, there was a lot of just creeping around and creepy, scary stuff versus like open area gunning.
Yeah. And Doom 3, the one thing I'll always remember about it is just how dark it is.
Right. Very dark.
Doom 1 and 2 were never like, they were like, the mood was set dark, but it was like you could always see enemies. Right. Whereas Doom 3 was more like jump scares constantly over and over again. Yes. And it was like, I swear to goodness, every area you're in, the only thing that is lit is your flashlight. Right. Whereas Doom 4, Doom 2016, feels a lot more like the old school ones because it's not that constant darkness going on at all times. It feels like, I mean, Doom and Doom 2 are arcade-style shooters.
Yes,
like,
absolutely.
they're over the top.
Yep.
When you get very good, and when you play on Ultraviolence and Nightmare, then it is very strategic.
Yes.
But it is kind of like a run and gun, kind of do your own thing.
Yeah.
By the way, before we get into that real quick, Nightmare on the original Dooms, go away. Like, when I learned that, like, the enemies respawn, when Ben was telling, I was like, Ultraviolence is hard enough. Ben usually plays on Ultraviolence, and it'll be like 3-4 hits, you're dead.
Yes.
Right?
Yeah. And you can't make a mistake on Ultraviolence.
That's like feasible.
Right.
But then I was like, well, Ben, what's Nightmare then? Because I never played Nightmare without literally just cheating.
Right.
And he was like, oh, Nightmare's like Ultraviolence, but enemies just spawn randomly and they respawn. And it's like...
They also do hit harder. So, like, you get probably slightly less hits, and they respawn.
Yeah, and the respawn part is just the point
Right.
where it's like, dude, I mean, randomly respawning where like an imp can shoot you quick and you're dead is whatever.
Yeah. Oh my god.
So that being said, if you play, when I see like let's plays of like Nightmare, like speedruns of Nightmare, I'm like, dude, you are like the best. Like you are
that's
the best
amazing.
person.
Yeah.
So yeah, the story of Doom 2016. Let me say that Parker and I are gonna have completely different, I guess, not even opinions, just like takes on this, because when I was playing it, I was trying my best to find all the different stuff. But I'm one of those guys that when I go through, I like just tend to miss stuff, even if I am looking for it. Like I was looking for it,
Right.
So I pieced the stuff together. Let's start back at the beginning. The story is almost exclusively told through these like video diaries.
Yeah. There is an overarching story that you see in cutscenes with Samuel Hayden and Olivia Pierce and stuff. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah.
You don't necessarily need the stuff, but it does flesh it out a lot more. But the story, if you don't look for anything and don't read anything, the story is very simple. You know?
And that was my takeaway before we even did this, because like I said, I found some, but most of the stuff that I found were like audio logs of like it's been a while since I played it. The name of the bad lady who's trying to like
Olivia
open
Pierce.
up. Okay, so like most of the stuff I find are essentially like different ways of saying, "Oh, she's crazy.
Right.
She's trying to do this, whatever." So my major thing was, and again, it's been a while since I played, was very simple. Like Olivia bad, stop her from opening hell.
Right.
Oh, by the way, spoilers. I mean, who cares about Doom spoilers? But spoilers. You know, she opens up hell, and then you go in, and everything gets crazier, and that's pretty much it. Like that was like
I mean the other, I mean, on a surface level, storyline wise, the only other thing that happens is you do get double crossed by Samuel Hayden,
and that's
at the
very end. Right now, Samuel
he's the one that kind of created the whole base on Mars and is tapping into hell to begin with. And but he was helping you because he's like, Olivia Pierce has gone rogue and I need your help. And so he helps you, and then like at the very end, he sort of double crossed you. He definitely double crossed you, but like he did still not want what Olivia wanted, which was literal hell to come forth.
Right.
Samuel Hayden, I think, wants to like maybe control hell or be in charge of it, but still have humanity exist. He just wants to be able to control it, which the Doom guy character as an entity is basically like F hell. Like he's like, get it out of here.
Yep.
Like I don't want anything to do with it. Whatever, we're done with this. So it's like kind of like, it's almost like Punisher from the comics. Like Punisher's like, no, you're all dead. You're all dead because you're all doing bad things. And then Samuel Hayden's like, yeah, but some bad can be used for good. And he's like, no.
So does Samuel want like hell to be a thing that is like a reality where they are?
Well,
but
I think he wants to
control it or something.
I think
like
he
that?
wants to be able to completely control the insane amount of energy that is hell, and be able to use it for whatever he wants, making him the ultimately powerful being in the universe. You know what I mean? It's like the Infinity Stones in Marvel or something. Like, it's like one guy wants to control it all.
Gotcha.
He doesn't want humanity to necessarily suffer in hell the way Olivia did, but he definitely did want to, like, still utilize it. But, like, the point is, like, I think the whole overarching point is that hell is evil, and evil will corrupt, like whatever you use it for, it'll get corrupted. Like, you can't use hell as much as, like, Samuel Hayden thinks he can. But, you know, it's hard to say because Samuel Hayden is he was a guy who lived, and then he was so small. He was so smart that he uploaded his consciousness into a robot.
Kind of thing.
So that is, like, it does open up that can of worms where, and again, like, in Doom, they don't, like, and in any of the other Dooms, there's no story, like, except 3 had story, but, like, the
Doom
originals...
Doom 1 and 2 have a very tiny bit.
Exactly.
After each huge episode, it'll say, like
a paragraph.
You fall further into hell or whatever. But besides
that,
but
basically the story is, like, you need to figure out what's going on and stop it.
Yep.
So that's it.
Yeah, that's it.
But in this, And this did weave the storylines of Doom 1 and 2 into this a bit. There's references to like what's the like, so I know we watched Ben play it, but we watched Ben play WADs. Like Doom 2, there's that end where there's a wall. Is that Doom 2? Where you're fighting that big, I know that Ben
where you shoot the rockets into his brain.
into a head.
That is the official canon part of Doom 2.
Right.
Yeah.
Okay. So that's called like sin, something, the icon of sin.
Icon of sin. Yeah.
So that is referenced in Doom 2016. There's some stuff about that having happened. You know what I mean? So in the past. So like there is it's I think it's sort of referencing that, but I think it's also like a reboot. So it's like reimagining the what took place in Doom, which was like there's a base on Mars that tapped into Hell, and Hell, was released in Mars, and so you go and fight Hell, and then Doom 2 is Hell, but it came to Earth.
Or to Earth, yeah.
Right. So, and those are actually connected, like in a chronological thing, whereas Doom 2016 is like, I think, a reboot, as far as I can tell anyway. But I don't know original Doom storylines well enough to know if they're completely wrapped in. But the one thing, I like the story a lot because basically what they did was they and some Doom purists might get mad that they did do this, but they basically, Doom itself, right, was an area that was almost like a kingdom in the far, far past. Almost like an Atlantis or something like that, right? And Doom, as a kingdom, like, was constantly fighting against this other kingdom, and I'm gonna get the name wrong, but I think it was like Darther or something like that. I'm gonna look. No, it's not easily seeable. So, you're basically, descended down from a long line of warriors.
You're the character you play.
Yes.
Okay.
That fought against Hell. Back in the past, we were always very the Doom race or whatever, this Darther people were super powerful. They had these. They were on their side were these super powerful wraith beings that like could do anything, but they were very easily manipulatable. And so what happened was a single guy in this kingdom kind of sold out the whole race. Basically, his son was killed, and he wanted his son to come back to life, and so the high up people in Hell noticed this and took advantage of it and said, "We'll bring your son back if you help us. All we ask you to do is basically keep a door open so that we could get in." And then once they got in to be able to, there was this kind of source of energy at the tower, and once they were able to corrupt that source of energy, it was kind of all downhill, and there was a big war that broke out amongst these two races. And even though they corrupted that thing, this race of warriors were still holding their own because they were crazy, and that's where this Doom Slayer comes from. And you've definitely, I'm sure, got to the some of the parts where you found those glowing green stones and you touch it, and there's a voice and it's the Doom Slayer, blah blah blah, and it tells a story from the battlefield. So basically, it talks about this Doom Slayer, and he was kind of the number one warrior in this warrior race, and he was just everything in Hell was just terrified of him, and it talks about him, whatever. And it's possible, at least my interpretation, that some of those stones were talking about the events from Doom 1 and 2, but it could also be that they were talking about events from far reaches of back in time.
And just for my knowledge, all the stuff that you're talking about here was stuff that you find in game.
Yes.
It's not stuff you had to look up on a wiki or anything.
I haven't looked up anything.
Okay.
I'd be interested to, because I'm sure I missed.
And that goes to show you the differences that we saw there. And again, when I was playing it, I was borrowing it from a friend, so it was I was a little bit more I just want to go through it and have fun, whatever.
Absolutely.
But that goes to show you it's a little deeper than you would expect, and that's kind of cool.
But it doesn't have to be.
It doesn't have to be, right. So I took it at the base level of bad girl,
Right.
good guy
Right.
who turns bad, and like that's
Yes.
it. I mean, that's literally the
those
entire
and
story.
those cutscenes were still good enough that that's enough of a story for me.
Yes.
Like, for sure. I wouldn't have been like, that's it. Like, that was good, because the characters they presented were really, like, they weren't necessarily complex.
Let's switch over to characters real quick then.
Yeah.
So I like them all. I mean, I'm perfectly fine with them. The woman was kind of a generic, like, I'm a bad woman kind of thing. But, like, again, we're not expecting deep story. We don't need some crazy, like twist at every turn kind of thing. So you present her, she's evil. It's tough to find her and stuff, and she like explodes or something, right?
Yeah. She basically like merges with the spider mastermind that you fight at the end, sort of, kind of like he just envelops her, whatever. But she was tricked as well. One of the main things that's kind of cool is the whole idea that there's this source of energy that Samuel Hayden discovered on Mars, which was like a rift into hell, right? And he found out that he could tap into it as an energy source, and basically there's this this thing that sends the energy back to Earth. So all of Earth is powered by this thing on Mars that probably not many people on Earth realize what is powering everything. Because it's like, just like real life now, like, nobody cares that their phone is made by, like, pretty much slave labor. They're gonna just play on their iPhone.
Right.
Like, the realities of how your life affect other people is, like,
crazy.
People don't care that much. So, like, and this is even less so, because it's just like, oh, this power source is being sent to us. It might not even be something that people just don't, like, care to know the true facts of. They might not even have it available. Do you know what I mean? Like, I don't know where my electricity comes from at my house. Like, somebody might live near a power plant and they know. Like, I don't necessarily know, like, what specific thing is generating our electricity. Do you know what I mean? In my specific area, because I didn't look into it. But, like, you know, there's plenty of people that just like, oh, I'm not sure. Like, do we have a hydroelectric power plant? Do we have a, you know, this kind of power plant, that kind of power? I'm not sure. So if power was just being pumped into this world that's insanely advanced because of how powerful this energy coming in is, nobody would question it. They would just be very happy.
Absolutely.
You know what I mean? If there's no very obvious group of people or the environment being harmed, because they're like, oh, it's being sent in from another planet, who cares? So what you find out, though, is that the cost of this energy, because it is hell, it does slightly corrupt people, and there is a whole level of, like, which is really, really, like, a cool idea, is that, like, you start in this company, and you just think it's a company, and Olivia Pierce, like, at her area, she definitely started to slowly make it into a religion, like a cult, and, like, to the point where, like this, you know, a top level engineer who's like building the BFG or something, right? Like, that's like an engineer's job, science, whatever. But he's like, oh, like they're talking all about, like, you know, your place in the hierarchy of hell and this and that, and like what your role is, like if you ever come in contact with, like, they talk about the people of the creatures of hell as like if you come into contact with one of the, like, you know, like, chosen ones, like, your best bet is to just, like, get on your knees and thank that they're going to use you for their which means that they're just going to, like, eviscerate you, but it's like, thank the, you know,
oh my god,
thank hell, like, below that you have this opportunity.
So
and
that,
it's like crazy.
That hell power just turns them from normal people.
Right.
So I guess,
and so Olivia has just been corrupted.
I guess you assume that,
like,
the people on Earth are slowly getting that way too?
Possibly. It's hard to say, because, like, again, they haven't, like, it looks like they opened this up for sequels. And so, like, it seems like they're going to be like, okay, let's do a Doom 2 in this universe. Yeah. And it might be hell on Earth then.
Well, and as far as that is concerned, it was, again, it's been a while, pretty open to a sequel, because the part at the very end is the part that you get double-crossed.
Yes.
And does it end with Samuel, like, hitting you or knocking you out?
He like, sends you back somewhere. You don't know. Probably hell, somewhere. Like, it kind of is like... Yeah. whatever. Now, so her character, like you said, she's sort of generic evil, but like it's a pretty interesting type of evil because she's like a really, really intelligent. Like Samuel Hayden handpicked her because of her intelligence and because of what she accomplished. So she's like not like to the idea of her becoming manipulated or in by hell. Like it's not like she's dumb. Like she's like super super smart. She just was slowly corrupted by this whole thing, and also like hell would do, she was like lied to, manipulated. So she thought she was going to become this ultimate ruler of hell, and at the very end she gets like basically absorbed into that spider mastermind that you fight. And so her whole life is just torment at that point. And like up until that point all she had was torment because she got hurt at some point, and her whole body, she has that like kind of weird like mechanical suit keeping her alive, but it's like very much like Darth Vader, where like every second she's in constant state of like intense pain, like, and it's just like this idea that she's just like dealing with this, but it's like it's all for the greater good, and like I'm gonna be this top person in hell, all I gotta do is suffer through this. So like pretty interesting character for just like a seemingly generic villain. Pretty cool. And then Samuel Hayden, like, also very interesting.
Yeah, I mean, they did such a good job of just setting it up. I honestly at no point was like, I don't think I even questioned like what he was doing, So they set that up really
well, because
good.
the one thing that they did in the very beginning that was really cool was in like one of the first missions, you have to try to shut off the Argent power source, right? And he guides you to these 3 like kiosks or these little like mechanical things where you're supposed to remove a fuse, basically. Now he was telling you at the very first one that you can very carefully take the fuse out, and it will turn off the thing, but it won't destroy the thing. And so Doom Guy walks up to the first one, and like when you hit X, he just smashes it.
Yep.
He smashes it to pieces, and Samuel Hayden's like, I would appreciate it if you don't do that, because basically, like, this, what you're smashing is like years and years and years of like work and research. Like, it's not going to be easy to recreate these, and like if you smash it, we might not ever be able to recreate it, and you go around and destroy all 3.
Yep.
So like it's very clear that you're like, I'm listening to you for your help, but like I'm gonna close hell. Like I'm done with this. Like hell is no good. And like so Samuel Hayden, kind of complex in that level. So like I think they did that so that it really was a little bit more of a surprise when he completely double crosses you at the end.
Right.
Because you do see that you have like, okay, so you guys aren't like best buds. Like it's not like a story like in Uncharted or something where it's like, hey, we're buddy, everything's great. Right. It's like, oh my gosh, like you guys had butt heads, The other cool character who's like kind of like the Portal voice or whatever is Vega, is the AI that talks to you like throughout. Yeah. And he's pretty cool too. And at the very end, which is pretty neat, you use Vega's like in crazy like you go to Vega and he's basically like like a megaplex of like circuitry, right? And you manipulate his like the power that makes him, you manipulate that to open the portal to hell in order to go to this spot where you got to get the like crucible thing. Right. That's like the major like thing that you need to steal. And so when you go to destroy him to create the portal to hell, there's like a split second where on the screen it says backup Vega, and you press it, Doom Guy presses it and pulls out a card. So like he has Vega's AI consciousness on his person as well. So hopefully
that could continue in some.
So hopefully in the sequel that would be like the character in like the comics or whatever that's like the computer guy that's like back home doing all the stuff behind the scenes. Yep. Which is like a cool idea, like a Cortana in Halo or something like that's just like this AI that helps you that you get a relationship with.
So let's finish up on story real quick with talking about my favorite part of the story, which is a character, which is Doom Guy.
Best character.
They do such a, sometimes, and again, we gotta talk source material, You have a Final Fantasy game, and if the character's like very one-dimensional and whatever, you're gonna be like, oh, please.
Right.
But you have a game like Doom, and this dude is just badass from the second it starts. Again, partner brought up a good one where he's like, pull the thing out, and you just you smash everything because you're like, I don't care. And it's not like oh, I'm Hulk, I'm not thinking such. It's like, I'm thinking, I don't care what you say.
Exactly.
Even in the very beginning, you wake up and you're being held for whatever reason, and the way you break out, and you're just like breaking out, pulling all these things out of your arms and whatever. He's just like, where's my damn weapons, kind of thing. And it's just like the whole time, like it's just like clear that although he doesn't, does he talks?
No,
he does not talk.
I didn't.
Okay. So maybe I'm thinking of something. Maybe I'm thinking of like Halo or whatever. So he never talks.
Right.
But
at least in this one.
You see him very briefly, what he looks like, or you never see him?
You don't see him. You see other members of the race.
Yeah. Okay.
Of warriors, and so you assume it's him because here's what happens: like when you see those things, and they're talking about the Doomslayer, they talk about how the Doomslayer was basically captured by Hell and put into a tomb and guarded forever because they know that the people that guarded him were terrified, like these Hell Knights and Hell Barons and all these other things that were guarding this tomb were like terrified because if this guy gets out, it's over.
It's over.
and so Samuel Hayden and the humans or whatever on one of the expeditions find the tomb and they bring it out, and that's what in the beginning there's this big thing that what you get out of is the tomb. So you've been kept in hell all this time. So when you wake up, you're like a member of this race that was like the top warrior Doomslayer, and you wake up out of this like you don't know what's going on, and you what had happened was Olivia Pierce sent out a Lazarus wave, which was basically transformed everybody into those possessed. So every regular doctor that was working became those zombie-ish dudes.
Right.
And so you wake up and you just crush one of their skulls in your hand, you just smash it, and then you just get up and within a second you get the Argent suit, which is something that they had made, and then you start picking up weapons from that point on, which is great idea. It's got that James Bond feel where it's there's this group of people that you go into this area where they're just all they do is create weapons all day long. So then you're like, oh shoot, you get all these cool weapons, and but then there's this cool stuff where when you find the super shotgun, there's a little which is a classic Doom weapon. There's this little blurb about the super shotgun being banned on Mars, and that people sneak it in when they come to work on Mars because they love the feel of it, and the security forces will hide it and smuggle it in, and it's a banned weapon, and if it's found, it's gotten rid of on sight, and it's such a great little Easter egg kind of thing because the super shotgun is one of the more, besides the BFG, one of the more satisfying guns to use up close, which is what a lot of the fighting happens. So it's so you just deal tons of damage with it. So it's great. But yeah, so Doom Guy, just a great because he's not Duke Nukem or somebody like that where he's trying so hard and making all these comments.
No, I mean
he doesn't talk.
You never see him. He doesn't talk.
Yeah.
And he's just so cool.
Yeah, he's just awesome, and you're excited to play as him. You know what I mean?
And that's amazing that they could do that with literally no words, just a few actions where you just see his hands doing something.
Right.
And it's not over the top where he's flipping people off and whatever. It's just
right.
He's just doing. He just
doesn't quite listen to people because he's no, I know what I'm doing.
Yeah. So, overall, story-wise, I gotta say that, again, we gotta look at this in context.
Right.
Especially with what I'm hearing from what you said, the stuff that I'm learning now, it's way more complex if you want it to be than I would imagine, but the base storyline itself is, perfect as well. It's just, you don't want anything super complicated where you're who's this?
Right.
There are, 4 main characters, and
Right.
like that's really all you need in this kind of thing.
Yeah.
And like I feel they would have done Doom a disservice if
Right.
they would have made it anything else. I mean, you know, if you want to make a game where it's all complicated and convoluted, you don't make Doom.
Right.
So overall, I mean, if we're looking at a score here, I'm giving it an 8.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a
Right.
very very solid score. That's very
Yeah,
solid
I would
score.
give it an 8.5 because I mean, like, personally, like, I would have liked if there was a bit more, like, just because, you know, if we're comparing it to, like, stories, like, if I'm rating this on I mean, I'm kind of rating it for what it is, and it's great, so it's an 8.5, but, like, I do want more. You know, I don't know that that's really a negative sometimes, because sometimes they want to keep you searching for more, like, that feeling's better than, like, being flooded, but...
It's a game that has a clearly evident setup for a sequel,
right?
And that always will just leave you like with kind of a sour taste because you're like, you know,
right?
There's no real way you can do it where you really set up something. It's either going to be a cliffhanger or it's going to be a full ending, and then there's going to be something dumb like. A great example of this is the first Friday the 13th,
right?
Where Jason's hand comes out and you're like, you know, the movie was over,
right?
And then you see Jason's hand come out of the wire and you're like, well, there's more, and there were more. So
Very
you know,
many more.
there's like no real way. Like I guess
Yeah.
like you could be like, you know, once in a while there might be one where you're like, I guess there could be a sequel where like everything's wrapped up, but then the sequel has to be something completely different where it's like 100 years later, you know, whatever.
Right.
So
I mean, I do like sometimes, and they do this in horror movies where like. There are horror movies similar to Jason where, like, there's an ending where there's, like, he's still alive, but then they have no intention of making a sequel and never do. It's just kind of like, oh my gosh, like, so in your head canon, you're like, God.
I think with the game, I think with the way this sold,
I agree.
And
they're definitely doing a sequel. I agree, yeah. I just, it doesn't necessarily always have to mean a sequel, but in this case, I think it's good.
Yeah.
Especially because one of the coolest parts is, like, towards the end, you're trying to get this crucible thing, and it looks like this like T-shaped craziness with like skull, and it looks all scary and badass, right? And you get it, and you use it to smash these things, and like release these wraith souls, and basically close this rift to hell, because that's what's powering it is this thing in hell. So you smash these things with it, and you use basically like it's a T, and you use it. Like where you're holding it and you use the bottom of the T to like cut into stuff. Well, when you get back, the tethering happens and Samuel Hayden brings you back after you destroy the Spider Mastermind, which is like basically probably the thing that was keeping Samuel Hayden from stepping in as like the ruler of hell, because the Spider Mastermind was like a Spider Mastermind. It's like a massive brain.
Right,
like it's basically controlling everything, you know what I mean? So it knows what's going. It's like an omniscient being that's controlling all the denizens of hell and making them do whatever. So you kill that thing for Samuel Hayden basically, and then he tethers you back, and he takes the crucible from you, and what looks like a T, he like does something, which because like he knows everything about hell because he's been researching it. He does something, and it becomes the hilt of this badass sword. It just becomes this giant sword that's got like, it's like an energy sword, but it has runes in it, and it's all glowing. And he just starts walking away with this big sword, and you're like, oh my god, he just suddenly became like this crazy villain that you know he's gonna be like jumping around and slicing things. And like they made him too, like instead of just making him like a normal sized robot, they made him like 7 or 8, 10 feet tall.
Yep.
Like he's like tall, but he's not like massive. Like he's not like Godzilla, but he's like tall enough that it's unsettling. You know, like it's like Game of Thrones. Like those giants aren't like, they're not stepping over the wall, but they're like big enough that you're like, that's terrifying. Because they're like, you know, like huge. So like he's like, you know that he would be like a cool enemy to fight, you know, because he would be like all sorts of upgrades, robotic and all this stuff, and in crazy intellect. Oh yeah. So like, yeah, it's a cool idea. Like like to go that route, whatever. But yeah, like so that was cool. So I definitely want to see a sequel. But
I mean, and the way they set it up, absolutely. So once again, story 8 and 8.5. Now let's go into, I guess this would be the last meat of this overall.
Yeah.
Which would be the gameplay.
Yeah.
Let's just make this really simple. It was really good.
Oh my God.
You don't need, again, let's Doom.
Right.
You need fast, fun,
right.
simple gameplay.
Yes.
And that's what it has. Now,
lots of cool weapons, lots of ways that they
I don't want to
shit.
go, like... I feel like we would do a disservice if we go, like, super into this. You
No,
know, like,
I
there's
don't
really...
think so.
It's just, like, you have a bunch of different guns you can switch between.
Yep.
Killing enemies is very satisfying.
Yes.
There are a ton of different enemies,
Yes.
and they do a really good job of... there might be one or two new enemies that were never in a Doom before, or at least the classic Dooms, but they do a good job of reimagining you know, you know, like Revenants. You can tell what a Revenant is, but it doesn't look quite like a Revenant. You know, they change it around and everything, and it's just fun. Like there are very few moments where you're like,
everything is
I'm so bored.
Everything is scary too. Like, I mean, like the original Doom. Like,
absolutely,
you could die from an imp, and in this, imps are like pretty scary. They are fast.
And that's another thing. It's hard. It's a very tough game. Although you get items and health from beating enemies. No, let's go into one key change.
Right.
When you hit an enemy enough, they turn colors.
Right.
I believe glow. It was yellow.
They're white. They glow white when you're far away, so you know you've dealt them enough damage. And if you get close enough within range, they start glowing orange, and that means you're close enough to do like a final finishing.
Right, and this final finishing thing on PS4, I think you press R3.
Right.
Essentially, you grab them, and in some way, you like finish them off. You pull off their head, or you crack their skull, whatever.
Crazy. And it changes for every monster.
Yes.
And for some monsters, they have multiple ways of dying depending on which angle you're coming in.
If you come from behind, you'll like kick them down and do that. If you come from forward, you'll break their skull open.
Yeah. And they make it like nicely, like it was a really great idea. They put it in there, but they keep you invincible while you're doing it.
Yes, that would be a game breaker.
Yeah,
that would be
because sometimes some of them take like 3 seconds.
Yep.
And in a game that's this fast, 3 seconds is like, well, I'm dead.
Yep.
So, I mean, like to keep the energy up or your excitement up, as soon as you're done, you're right back into getting hit. So there's no like moment where you have like an invincibility frame or something. Like you're right back into it. So you do have to still be aware of your surroundings, but it does add an extra layer of like fun to like whatever.
Yep. And overall, when you're in the midst of a battle, where pretty much it's kind of like a corridor shooter kind of arena shooter kind of thing, where you're like in a place and there's a ton of enemies.
Right.
And you kill them all,
right.
And then you can go to the next place. So when you're in one of these areas and you have all these enemies to kill, if you're low in health, what you got to do is take a chance and shoot one of these enemies and get close and break it, because most of the time, at least in battle, the only way you can get health back is to do that finishing move.
Absolutely.
And that's a huge difference, because in the normal Doom, it's like that.
There's just health around. And there still is health around.
Enemies don't drop items in the original Doom, so there's health and whatever around. But the majority of the health that I got in the game would be from killing these enemies.
Absolutely.
And you also get bullets and stuff, so, again, if you're low... If you're low on whatever, you gotta like take a chance. Like, okay, I gotta go in here.
Yeah.
That's why you love when you see the little zombie guys, because they're pushovers. So you go and you stock up and everything.
Yeah. But even they if you're not aware of them, they will hit you, and they do decent damage.
Yep.
And on top of it, that thing happens, which happens a lot. The most of the time when you die in Doom, it's because you get hit once by something that you were not aware of. And then you become completely disoriented.
Yep.
And you try to look around, and then that split second of like indecision is like everything converges on you, because everything is so fast.
Yep. And really, when it comes to the combat and the battling and stuff, there's not too much to go into, except for it's like it's very fast, it's very satisfying. You can jump around all crazy and stuff. I mean, the battles are sometimes they're more of what's the word I'm looking for? Like a feat of endurance.
Yes.
So you know, especially later in the game, that there's going to be 3, 4, 5 different waves, and it's like you just know. So you see, imps and revenants first, soldiers, and you're like, okay, cool, But then you know that the big guys are coming later, and it's like, okay, well, those are the guys that I can't kill them real quick and whatever. So
and they're gonna be like pumping out damage, so like I gotta like be hiding.
And you can upgrade your weapons.
Oh yeah.
And a lot of that's very satisfying. I believe
you can also do this thing where you find these runes.
Yes.
Time trials. And you go in, and
those are fun.
Yeah, and they're a fun little thing. They'll be like, kill 15 enemies with the super shotgun. But what happens is you like literally, you have 20 seconds, right? But, like, you only have 3 seconds worth of movement. And every enemy you kill, you'll get an additional 3 seconds of movement. So, like, you run for 3 seconds, and then when that 3 seconds is up, you're just standing there, and all you can do is look around. And sometimes it's like, well, I'm dead. But, like, you just got to keep killing one to the next, and you got to just keep going, and it's, like, a cool little thing. And they're usually, like, I very rarely did them in one go. I usually needed, like, 3, maybe 4 tries before I'm like, okay, I got it.
Some of them were pretty tough. And, one of the things I really like is the unlockables for your weapon. And it's been a while again, so correct me if I'm wrong, but you'll have like a super shotgun, right?
Right.
And it'll give you like things to do. So it'll be like, kill 10 enemies via headshot. And when you do, the weapon gets stronger in some way.
there's you first unlock it with points. And then when you've bought all the upgrades, the final upgrade to master it is like, do something awesome.
Yep.
And it'll be like,
sometimes
kill...
Sometimes they were tough where like... And they do it in a way where you oftentimes have to go out of your way.
Yes.
So it'll be
absolutely.
like, I can't think of an example, but you'll be like, I would never use the whatever that way.
On a specific enemy, too.
Yeah, but you got
it.
Yeah, you know?
The one was like the regular shotgun, not the super shotgun. What to master the one level was to kill specifically a mancubus, and that also means that once they're glowing, that's when you have to kill them with it.
Right.
So like sometimes it was cool where you'd be in battle and I'd get a mancubus glowing and I go, oh crap, I had a split second to decide. I would switch to my regular shotgun, run down there and kill him with it, and then I just because I needed to get 5 of them, you know what I mean? And I didn't like you can obviously do it if you're replaying levels, no problem. But if you're trying to do it as you progress through the game, it adds an extra level of like excitement to it.
Yeah, and we'll go into that in replayability and stuff. But yeah, in general, I mean, there's really not much more to say. It's exactly what you want in a Doom game.
Absolutely.
Something like Doom 3 has its place with all of that like darkness and scariness and whatever.
And the story in Doom 3 was cool. Like there was some cool story.
Right. But like, it's not.
No, it's not Doom. It's not Doom. No,
and I hate to be the one who does that where it's like, oh, this isn't X.
Yeah.
It's like, true. Resident Evil, 5 isn't Resident Evil, or that was the big one back there. Resident Evil 4 isn't Resident Evil because it's more actiony. It's like, well, maybe that's what it's going to become, and that's, it did. But Doom is one of those series where it's like, man, dude, you really cannot, No,
absolutely. This was definitely like, oh, thank goodness they went back.
And Doom, when I think of it, despite its subject nature being so like hellacious, is so pure. It's just it's just shooter.
Absolutely.
It's like
absolutely.
I found I was going through old EGMs trying to do getting ready for my, and it's gonna happen eventually.
Your Saturn.
My it's Saturn Day, and I found the review of either the PlayStation or I don't know if it came out on Saturn. Whatever, the 32X version of Doom. And it was like, hey, for those of you who have lived under a rock for the last year, Doom is a fast-paced corridor shooter. And it's like, it's so weird to see like a game that by this point is like, you say Doom, and it's like, it's like pop culture icon, right? But it's like, it's a thing that was just a thing that's like, hey, you probably heard of this, but Doom is a corridor shooter, and it's like, it's just so weird. It'd be like, back in the day, you read the first Final Fantasy thing, it's like, Final Fantasy is a turn-based RPG, and it's like,
oh, neat. Sounds cool.
So, that was super funny to read that stuff. So yeah, overall, I don't have anything more to say about it. I mean, it was just super fun.
Judged by the fact that we on LP still play these Doom wads that are like that are basically like a new reimagining, but using all the old assets, and it's still super fun to watch. Like Ben wreck shop on it.
I will say one thing real quick. I did at one point. It was at about halfway through the game. There was this big arena part where you jump down into this arena type thing, and then there's these waves and waves of enemies.
Yeah.
At that point, I did have to lower the difficulty. I was on maybe normal, maybe one above normal, and I did have to lower it. And I'm not docking at any points because it's hard and it should be hard.
Yeah.
But it was just, that just goes to show you how hard it was. I tried, I'm not one of those guys that's going to try all night, but I tried.
Oh, I think I remember the one you're talking about where it was like a big circle. And there was
there's a bunch of different levels on it. Yeah.
Tiers. Yep,
so I mean it just kept going on and on to the point where I was like, man, I would get 7 waves in and be like, cool, I lost.
Yeah, right.
So again, I'm not one of those persons I'll try it a million times, but I did try it an hour or two, and at that point I was like, I don't got all day today. I want to beat this game.
Yeah.
And again, I'm not going to hurt it on that, but it is a very tough game. Anyway, very, 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 very good. I'm giving it a 9 for the gameplay.
Yeah, I honestly, I mean, I think just for gameplay, I think I'm using a 10 because it is.
Ooh, baby!
It is like
it's just
so
what you want.
pure.
Yep, it's just what you want.
I mean, I will. I'm gonna dock it points on replayability when we get there, but because of giving it a 10. But the gameplay is just so perfect that like I think it's perfect. Like
again,
for what it is,
we
it's
grade
perfect.
these for what it is and for the
I'm
genre.
not-
so if you
right.
don't like first-person shooters, you won't like it. But if you like arena-based first-person shooters, you can't dislike.
Cannot go wrong.
So
and like,
let's.
I if we were comparing other things, this would become the high watermark for me. Like when it comes to like this type of game, like I would compare things to it. We try not to do that, but like this, that's how good it is, and that's why I give it a 10 for gameplay.
I can't disagree with you there. So next up we have sound. This includes voice acting, music, stuff like that. Now Doom isn't a very like audio game.
Yeah,
although
I got that music though.
I will say the music itself isn't like super memorable, but it serves its purpose when it gets all rocking and all that stuff.
Yeah.
The voice acting is excellent.
Absolutely.
Excellent. I mean, everyone does a great job.
They have the interesting voices. Like it wasn't just like, oh, that guy does this. Like Samuel Hayden was like, I wanted to hear him talk more.
Yep.
And like Vega had a good, interesting voice and like had that kind of snarky wit. Well, like, but like, you know, the voice was like deadpan and, you know, and pulled it off well.
Yeah, absolutely. And the thing that I would give the highest points on would be the stuff like the sound effects, which you really want. So like you get close to an imp and you hit it with super shotgun and it has like a
absolutely
kind of thing.
Yeah.
And it just does a really good job of setting that up.
There's a lot of ambient noise that's scary.
Ambient noise is great. Like when you're in like hell and like before the enemies show up and stuff like that and you're just kind of doing your thing and it's like you hear like in the background you hear like the you know, whatever.
But you also hear like faint chanting at times and it's like terrifying, like because you're like, oh gosh, there's something in here with me, because like you're so scared of like you want to start shooting something when there's stretches where there's no enemies, not very long.
You just know
you're
that
like,
in 10 seconds there will be more.
Yeah.
So
and
really,
then the classic like metal comes in, like when the enemies show up, it's like some crazy like guitar riffs, and you're like,
and again for I don't want anything super crazy,
right? I
don't want anything to overpower the gameplay. For what the game is, it does it just fine.
Yeah.
Again, high marks on the voice acting.
Yeah.
You always love a game when they only have 3 or 4 voice actors when they're all good. Like when there's a game with like we did Life is Strange last episode. Like we mentioned there's like 50 voice actors, so like 1 or 2 are going to be like not the greatest.
Right.
But it's like when you have a game with like 4, it's like please,
yeah.
You know, and they did that.
Yeah,
they did a really good job with that. So I don't think I have anything else to say about sound. I mean, it was good. I'm giving it an 8 overall.
Yeah, I give it an 8.5 because I did like the sound a lot. I like the voices a lot. Like the guy that whoever reads the Doomslayer tablets that you find, he's like the Doomslayer. Blah, blah, blah. It's like it's
such a good voice.
Good.
So next up we have graphics and atmosphere. Now, although they are one category, I want to start with atmosphere first.
Yeah.
Because this is where it just rocks. I mean, you know, this game does both, you know, parts where you're like, it's very like mellow and atmospheric.
Right.
You know, like when you're on, you know, the base or whatever, it feels like very desolate and it feels very whatever.
Because you go outside sometimes and it's like just these sweeping landscapes of like Mars, and it's like, you know, crazy.
and you know, you find like I'm gonna put this under atmosphere. You find like the dead bodies of like your comrades,
absolutely,
and you know, you find all these like scenes of like struggles and whatever, and and they just do. And then when you get to hell, it's just like everything is like the first time when you go down to hell, I think it's hell proper. Like the first place that you're in, you just see like this huge like mouth type thing like that you have to enter. It's like it's like the Cave of Wonders from Aladdin, but it's like
terrifying.
You know, just like flames everywhere, and you're like
no thanks.
I mean, if you're going to like subscribe to like the standard, you know, hell kind of thing, it's like that would be, you know,
it's as hell as you could possibly imagine.
So,
like every bit of like iconography.
And they take it literally, and that is perfectly fine. You know, you don't need like a Dante's Inferno here. You know, it's like please make it literal and cool. So as far as the atmosphere, like wherever you are, whatever you're doing, it feels like it should feel, which is great. Now, graphics, again, good. I made that start out like it was like, but graphics.
I mean, we played on the PS4, and I can imagine it looks a billion times better on the
like
PC.
A good PC.
Because people, everybody needs the PC. But like it looked amazing.
They
it looked
do
great.
They do a really interesting like art style. Like it's not like super real. Like a great example would be Uncharted. If they made Doom look like Uncharted, where they're like everything is pixel perfect realism, it would be like frightening.
Yeah,
but I don't know if it would necessarily be Doom. They have more of this like almost cell shaded style to it.
A little, the demons like have a look that they're like real, but then there's parts that like keep it like calm, because like if like something like the Cyber Demon looked like hyper realistic, like I feel like I wouldn't play it. I'd be like, this is too scary.
It would be tough because they have like that huge hole in them.
Yeah, I'm too scared of this.
It'd be kind of crazy. Yeah, so that the art style really fits it, and I think it allows for, especially on something like a PS4, for it to, and I'm going to include this in graphics, run at a very nice frame rate.
Oh, absolutely.
I don't know if it's 60, but it's,
it felt
60
fast.
frames per second, 1080p. No,
I'm sure it was 30 because I think that's kind of standard. But like,
it was what you
still
needed. It was what you needed. It did really good there.
It looked great.
It looked good. Yeah. For me, one of the reasons that I'm not super into the first-person shooter genre. And the PS4 is doing better on this, is like when you turn, it's like all that motion blur, and I just hate it.
Right.
Like I hate it, and then you're like, where am I? Like you could not have a game as fast as Doom, or a Doom game where like you're going through and it's like, you turn and it's like there's that little bit of motion blur, because you would be like, I lost.
You're lost.
You need
would
to
be
constantly
lost.
be like boom, 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 boom. I need to know where I'm shooting.
This had that down to pat.
Even going to show you how detailed it is, the kill shots, the close up kill shots of the enemies will give you these close up kill shots.
Absolutely,
and they're all like
depending on what you shoot too. Like it was like you could shoot it in the leg and it'll like blow the leg off, or it'll react that way. And like I thought that was really really neat that like that they went that level.
So I mean that's I don't think I have anything else to say. The graphic again the type of graphics suited. Is it the best graphics on the PS4 or whatever? Absolutely not. Because there's corridor games like Uncharted, well, they'll be like every blade of grass is where it should be kind of thing. Right. But with this game, it's set up the exact way you need it. I'm looking at an 8.5.
Yeah, I would say like an 8 on the graphics for sure. It's beautiful. The atmosphere is beautiful. Like very very sucked me right in or whatever. Like so, yeah, that was a great one.
Yeah, they just did a great job. So now we have 2 more. We're hitting the second to last one, which is fun factor. I mean, it should be pretty obvious with the way we've been talking that it was fun.
Absolutely.
When I come to fun factor, this one is everything we do is what's the word I'm looking for? Not set in stone. Based on our opinion or whatever. But I think fun factor is like the most based in like opinion. It's like so I don't know if I should be like docking it on the fact that it was like brutally tough.
Right. Yeah, how much enjoyment were you getting at certain points?
I'm not going to hurt it on gameplay for it being hard, because it's supposed to be hard.
Right.
But I think I will dock it a little bit on fun factor, because it was like there were times where I was like extremely frustrated.
Right.
It's Doom, and it shouldn't be a walk in the park, but like I felt that I'm not a great FPS player. I'm not even like good, but like I'm okay. I'll pick it up and whatever. But there were like I probably died like 100 times in this game. Like it was. And
I think honestly, like this is like a definite like you said opinion thing. Like I think if you played the whole game on like easy, you would have felt like it was too easy. But you would have probably never gotten frustrated.
Yeah.
But, you also then finish it and you're like, man, I played it on easy. Like, I mean, it definitely is a thing. I mean, for me, for sure. Like, I definitely have that feeling. Like, if a game's bad, I'll switch it to easy just to get through it if I know I want to finish it.
Yeah.
But, like, if I'm enjoying the game, I really have a hard time going to easy for my own sense of, like, what I accomplished, basically, you know what I mean? Because otherwise I feel like I didn't play the game, you know what I mean? Like I played just a way to get through it or something.
I'm going to view this way for fun factor. Every point I would dock off for it being too hard and frustrating, I would add on the exact same amount of points for like the sense of fulfillment you get for like
Right,
finally
for when
finishing
you
stuff.
do get
so like
it. Absolutely.
So like it's just one of those double-edged swords where it's like
Right.
you will feel so like kind
Right.
of thing. But at the same time, there's going to be 5 times before that you go like, and this
Absolutely.
game is not it has a decent amount of checkpoints, but it's not super liberal
right.
with the checkpoints.
Anytime there's a big wave part, you don't get a checkpoint within a wave or anything like that.
Absolutely not.
So, and makes it different from the computer, where like PC, and I don't know how it is for Doom 2016, but original Doom, there's a lot of, you could do quick saves, and you could save at any point. And you could save at a lull in a battle. Do you know what I mean? And then be like, okay, let me try to finish this battle.
Yeah.
Which you cannot do on the PS4.
No.
So, like, that is a big difference, because sometimes just a lull in a battle would be enough to turn the tide. Do you know what I mean?
Absolutely.
Like, if you could get to a point where you're like, okay, this playthrough of this battle,
I did
good. Let me stop. And, like, that's not a thing in the PS4. So, you could have a part where you're like, doing really good, and then you make one mistake, and you're like, F, and it just goes downhill.
But overall, I had a really good time. I mean, like, it's one of those games, we talk about it, there's games where you, like, come home and you're like, I got nothing to do, I guess I'll pop it in. This was one where I got home and I was like, I want to play Doom.
Right,
kind of thing. So, overall, I mean, again, very, very, very solid. I'm looking at an 8 for the fun factor on this one.
Yeah, I agree. I'm right there, 8 as well. Like, it was fun. I wanted to do the extra stuff, like, which is like definitely goes along with fun factor. I enjoyed doing that stuff. I enjoyed, like, I don't know if you were aware of this, but like when you unlock the classic maps, which is like I don't know if you unlocked any of them.
I don't think so.
Oh, okay. So there's this cool feature where,
or at least I didn't access them.
Okay, there's a cool feature where like you find a lever, they're hidden, right? You find a lever, and when you pull it, it takes a while. It makes this cool old school Doom sound, like MIDI file, right?
Okay.
And then somewhere on the level, usually close to where the lever is, a door opened, and the door, and you should look it up on YouTube just to see how some of them look, because what it is basically like a door in this crazy like graphics level that we're at 2016 with the atmosphere. All of a sudden it's original Doom, and you walk into the room and it's original Doom, like all the graphics, right? And you walk in and they're usually like a tiny room that might have an enemy in it, but usually they just have like some weapons and ammo and like a health thing or something. And then you can just leave and go right back into the level. Now, once you do unlock them though, you can go into in the menus, you could go to the level, and then it's a full level from original Doom.
Does it have the sprites from original Doom?
No, it's new sprites,
okay,
but original Doom everything else. But it'd be like original sprites of like a barrel, but when it explodes, it's new sprites. And the ammo and weapons and health are all original sprites, but when you pick them up, they would become like, like they're becoming your hands like as real stuff if you didn't have that weapon or something.
I'm gonna have to look that up, because that's another thing that like I had no idea about in general. So.
And it was a fun little like extra thing that like if you found them, like it like was like a cool little extra thing. Like what the one way you would notice it, just like in original Doom, is you would be like kind of like looking at the map, and you would see an area that you're like, there's an, like, especially if you got the auto map, you would see the whole map, and you'd be like, that part of the map's not blue, so I've never been there. How do I get there? And sometimes you'd find a door, and then you go, that's where the classic map is. Then you gotta look for the lever. So, it was cool. I really appreciated that there was no... Original Doom did a lot of timed secrets, where you had to run to a door.
Yeah.
And they didn't do any of those. And I really appreciated that, because the way I play the game is I like searching for everything. So, like, to get from point A to point B to eventually get to point Z, right? To get from point A to point B takes me, like, a long time, because I go backtrack. I like looking at everything. I like trying to find stuff. So, like, I enjoyed that. So, if there was something that was timed and I had to, and I was forced to replay the level, it would frustrate me. A lot of times I would replay the levels because I know I missed something, and it would be fine. It was just something that I did miss, even though I could have found it. I just missed it.
Yeah.
Whereas if there was something where it was like, oh yeah, there's no way to get it on the first playthrough, I would be annoyed just because I don't like that, like when they force you to replay it. I don't mind though if I have to replay it and because I missed it. Like that I don't mind. And it's a weird thing, but like I enjoyed it that you could have played through the whole game and got every single secret without ever having to replay everything if you were like knew where everything was or found it.
I
like that idea.
Yeah, when you have to play it again. What by the way, let's go into that. Yeah. So, replayability. Let me put it this way for this one. I beat it several months ago. Maybe 3, 4, 5, 6 months, and I haven't played it since, and I don't really have plan on it. So, the way that we do this is a 5 for me is I don't ever plan on it unless some special circumstance comes up. I'm sitting at a 6 on this because I will at some point in the future, but it's not like killing me to do so.
Unlike hearing about the classic match, you're like, maybe I'll go and check it out.
Yeah, absolutely. You know what I mean? Like knowing all this other cool stuff, but like I'm still not like, oh, I'm gonna go do that tomorrow. It's like, like I don't know. It's just one of those where it's like, and it's a pretty long game too.
Yeah. Oh yeah.
So it's not like it was like, oh, it was so short I can rock through it again. It's like it was pretty long, so another playthrough is gonna be like a week of my time kind of thing.
The second playthrough, I didn't play it through second time, but I've replayed certain levels to get to a secret. And the second playthroughs of levels took me a fraction of the time. Because you know where everything is. Yep. Plus, you can bypass certain enemies. There's some enemies where it's like, okay, the door's closed and there's waves. There's other parts where enemies come out, but if you know where you're going, you can just keep going. And so, like, they does make it a little faster. But yeah, I see what you're saying. Like, it's still a bit of a time, like, sink, you know, in some respects, especially considering how many restarts you need for certain areas because they're just so hard.
They're just so hard, yeah. So,
but yeah, so what did you give it?
I gave it a 6. I gave it a 6.
Oh, that's right, you said that. Okay, I probably if I didn't give the gameplay a 10, I would be giving the replayability a higher thing. But basically, the gameplay was like perfection, like in my opinion, but like. Because of the difficulty and the next levels up, like there was a trophy that was like, all you had to do was complete the very first mission on Ultra Nightmare, which is the highest. Now, Ultra Nightmare, the only problem, if you could play it as a new game plus, I might try it because you don't have everything unlocked. You can play Ultra Violent with like almost new game plus where you can just replay levels ultra violent, but you get everything you have unlocked is unlocked, so you could still like go through it and like have a good time like that. And it would be harder than playing the first time, but not like I played. So you had to create a new file to go to Ultra Nightmare, and so I played it up, and all I had to do was the first level. And the first level there are only 3 major waves, and they're only imps and only soldiers.
Right.
And there's only 3 of them. And one of them is actually pretty easy. So there's really only 2 waves, because the one wave is just basically a corridor, and you can kind of fall back and like just pick from far away. So like it's barely a wave where you have to be in the midst of an arena. So like there's only really 2 major waves, and I couldn't even get past a fraction of the first wave for the first like 10 times. And
that's so
and
crazy.
When you die, there's no checkpoint. You start at the beginning of the level. And if you die, I should say you start at the beginning of the game. Luckily, I was only the first level, so I was only restarting there. If you actually played this, you could get to like level 5 and die, and that's it. And like, I don't know who plays this level.
Level 1 is so... I mean, it's literally 1/1000th as hard as...
Right, it's just
later.
A tutorial.
Yeah.
You're just running through to try to, like, learn your weapons and learn how to run and learn how to jump and learn how to shoot and learn how to grab ledges. It's, like, just a tutorial mission. And it was it was so hard. So the only way I finally did... Like, I almost gave up in getting that trophy. I don't really care about trophies, but I was just like... Well, it's the last one I need. It would be fun to have 100%. So I was like, let me try it. I was about to give up, and I happened to go online, and apparently there's a speedrun strat where you can jump up the side of this mountain, and you bypass the second 2 waves. So you only have to get through the first wave.
Wow.
So I still ended up taking me like 15 tries to get through the very first wave of the game. Because literally, like 2 bullets from any imp, like 1 bullet from an imp, basically, and 2 bullets from the soldiers, instant death. And like the little ammo stuff you pick up and the little armor, they're also fractioned. So you know the little shards, they give you 5, they give you 1.
Oh my gosh.
1 single point of ammo or armor. And like the health things were the same way. Those little healths would be like 1 health or like 5 health instead of like 50 health. And it was like
absurd.
What am I supposed to? So it was so hard. So like basically like I played Diablo 3. I kept wanting to replay it because there was this whole idea of you just kept getting better and better and better. The game got a lot harder, but like you still had all of your powers. This was like starting over from scratch and hard. And I was like, it really zapped my excitement to replay it immediately. I wish there was kind of like, oh, I can go through it as this hyper, dude. But I mean, if there's a way to do that, I'm unaware of it. Maybe I'll do some research. But so replayability definitely got hurt. So I'm gonna put it down about where you did and put it down to like a 6.75 because I don't want to. I mean, I do think I might replay it, but like I'd have to learn a little bit more about the replayability. But as the surface level, like I don't imagine replaying the major part of the game very much. I do see that I might play the classic stuff and just kind of run through those a little bit. But like, and that being said, don't go anywhere near the online stuff. It's all garbage. It's all not nonsense. Don't even touch it. It was apparently, according to Trevor, we were talking about something, or Ben, they outsourced it to another publisher. Because they just were like, well, we're working on this.
And we are not, none of our scores have anything to do with the online.
No,
that's completely
it's
separate.
Just So that hurts replayability too, because it's not a game that you can be like, oh, let me hop online now that I know all these skills. Like, no, it's just nonsense.
So we have some final tallies here.
All right.
Overall, I didn't save it, but whatever pointage I came to divided by 6 came to 7.9. And Parker's came to divided by 6, 8.3.
Great.
So overall, I mean, that's, again, this is a pretty good rating system. That came out to about what you would expect. Super, super solid. All-time classic? I don't know. It's one of those things you'll just have to see. Maybe 5 years from now, we'll love it even more kind of thing.
Yeah.
All-time classics usually aren't things that happen right away.
Right.
It's down the line kind of thing. But definitely a game that you would suggest to anyone who likes anything in the genre. Even someone who might be like, I really haven't played like a big non-World War FPS game. It might be one to really get you in because it got me back at now. Like I know that they're like working on Bethesda's working on a new Wolfenstein, and I'm like, Wolfenstein is kind of Doom. I'll definitely play it kind of thing.
Yeah.
So just really enjoyable, really fun. Mm-hmm. Frustrating when it gets a little difficult, but that's Doom. I mean, that's Doom for you. We've watched Ben play so much Doom 2 WODs where he'll be like, I mean, if we didn't have save states in there, we would never finish. I mean, he would never finish a level. So absolutely. Luckily they have that going on. But overall, really, 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 really fun one. Definitely check it out.
Absolutely. I can see like if in the future like there is a WOD community. Obviously, not some. I mean, there's these snap maps which are supposed to be like that, but like I don't know. From what I saw, the stuff that people put out, so it wasn't great, or at least it was hard to find good ones on the PS4. I'm sure on the PC it's easier because there's like a list somewhere and everybody votes on it, so you can see what the top maps are. So the ones we play with Ben, like for Doom 2 WODs that are like Ancient Aliens and the other ones, those are like these top ones that win awards. So like I imagine some people can do some cool maps with the 2016 engine. So I'd be interested to see some of them as time goes on, and that might be something that I would be interested in replaying. But as it is, like, it's a great experience, and I enjoyed it super much. I don't know that I ever, like, want to go into it. So I think those scores, like, worked out really well.
Yeah, once again, our scores reign supreme. Thank you! I wanted to make the Doom an ending, you know, a Doom guy ending, but he doesn't have, you know, a line.
Silence.
Hey, I'm Doom guy here, you know.
Hey, that'd be great. At the very end of the game, he's like, "Yo, what you doing, Samuel Hayden?"
Hey, or it's like not even that, it's just like what? Like one word.
Wait, what?
Literally,
that would also be good.
Literally, Silent Bob.
Wait, what?
They should have an unlockable ending where he goes, excuse me? Like, Doom guy literally, his voice is like Urkel. Excuse me, Samuel. What? Yeah, I have a question.
Yeah. Wait, are you betraying me? Did that just happen?
That shouldn't be the normal thing, but like an unlockable one, and you'd be like, I'm shooting you out of here. Alright, thank you guys once again for listening, and have a great one.